Jamie here. Tuesday, March 4th, 3:20 on this fine Tuesday. Talk quick about the market, some names I'm looking at, go from there. But S&P, the SPY just went red to green. Another uh, volatile session. Markets opened not at well, open in the red and then continued to slide all the way down to about 10:15. Found a little bounce, then lows again at 11, and then we've just been melting higher ever since. Um, who knows what the catalyst? Some of the names showed some relative strength compared to the weakness. Names like Apple, some of the other mag names, and then you look at some of the Nvidia, Broadcom, and then Strategy, which is up almost 16% now, and crypto was kind of hanging in there. So I don't know if those were signs. Then you have reports that Ukraine's ready to work out a mineral deal with the US. I don't know if that's some of it, but to me, it's like oversold conditions somewhat. You take a look at NASDAQ, a stone throw away from correction territory. And now you have the conversation around that 200-day moving average, right? I mean, not something we've seen on the SPY uh, back since November 2023. So uh, pretty what was that 16 months somewhere in there. Hopefully, I mean, I don't know if we're out of the woods per se. We have tonight. You have POTUS in front of joint session, gonna put out his whatever, speak about his agenda and things like that. I don't know what he could say that might not already be out there to hurt markets, right? So I don't know if there's downside risk, but who knows? But you take a look here, SPY's back at 584. That's a key area. I think if we can hold that here today into the close, I think that bodes well, at least for the markets, kind of like hold their ground uh, into at least into tomorrow. Then you have Thursday. I got brought up earliest yesterday and day before, the GDP now for Atlanta will be out Thursday, and then we have the weekly jobs report on Friday. So those are two big pieces. I mean, not something I've really talked about before with the GDP read, but if it continues to head in the wrong direction, and it's already negative 2.8%, we haven't had that contraction in quite some time. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, what's the market look like there? But again, the market's the best forward looking mechanism out there. So maybe some of that's already baked in. So in regards to support resistance, 575 and change was the January lows. We broke through that down to 572. Then we got back up to 575, chopped around there into the early afternoon, and then boom, to the upside. So I think that good sign here. We hold over that 570, 584. Why is this not up here? And yeah, and maybe can get a little more um, I wouldn't say risky, but a little more aggressive, adding some calls. So some crazy reversals. Carvana, I think was down 10%. That's in the green. A lot of these names were off substantially. Went to the green. Caterpillar was all the way down to three. I think it hit 312. Down here, it's up at 332. So some nice reversals. And Target, which I almost want to get some spec lotto calls on Target. All right, so that's overall market. And then you pull it back again. The 200-day moving average hasn't been hit since, I'd have to pull the chart back. I think it's November of 2023. But the Nasdaq is right there at it. There, the Nasdaq's 200-day moving average. Um, yeah, here it is. Yeah, November. 16 months since the last 200-day moving average test. Um, I'm big about the 50 and 200-day moving average, right? That's the trend. Trend is your friend. So certainly, yeah. Costco has earnings. What he had Target, Best Buy this morning, Broadcom on Thursday. So still some earnings uh, to be had. All right, so now individual names and quick. J.P. Morgan got those spec hedge puts yesterday for protection, and little did I think, I thought maybe 2 or 3%. It tumbled almost 5%, all the way down to 245. My puts were almost in the money, right? So I started scaling some out at the open. I didn't want to be in a spot where we had a bounce, and then it just kept going. And next thing you know, my puts are up over 600%. So lock some more in. And then once we start to reverse by the noon hour, before the noon hour, I close the rest out for 600%. And I'll just serve this purpose, right? Serve that as a hedge. And then similar with Visa. And Visa finally showed some cracks. Uh, got some spec puts there, closed some out for 100%, and then just close the last out a little bit before for some small profits, and then flipped away on the other side. So you take a look at J.P. Morgan under the 50-day moving average. Definitely a name I'll continue to visit if we do have more weakness in the coming sessions, because I think there's an opportunity, especially with the stock just hitting all-time highs 2 weeks ago. So I think that's an opportunity. Same with Visa. Take a look at tight Bollinger Band setup. It hit all-time highs yesterday. A little decline here today. And then, there's the headlines. They're trying to explain why Visa's selling off today. Oh, because of cross-border transaction worries due to tariffs. I was like, Every name should be selling off, right? But all right, so that's Visa, MasterCard, Visa, JP Morgan on the put side. And then on the call side, look at Lemonade today, all the way down to 32.54, hit a low, and now it's up 38 bucks right now. I Yeah, I wish the April strikes had uh, better strikes. I think it's only $50 calls. It doesn't go higher than that. I, I was thinking of getting March 50s, but I'll probably just sit on my hands now. Still have the March 45s. Those are back over a double, so I'll just continue to hold those. If it breaks over 40 bucks, I got to think this is going to head into the mid to high 50s in a matter of a week or two, especially if the market cooperates. So Lemonade looking great. So on the dip, and I tried to play Arista Networks on Friday for a reversal, and then today I was watching, it was like 80, 81. I'm like, there's no news, no catalyst. It's just kind of selling off with sympathy. It's a great name. It's up, it's $50 off its highs from late January. That doesn't mean that that's where it heads back, but it was 130 plus stock before the DeepSeek fiasco, and it sold off a lot to DeepSeek, but then it never recouped most of those losses for DeepSeek. So I just I think there's an opportunity for even more of a bounce, but I went and got those 90 strikes, started to bounce. I just locked some in for near 100% to cover some costs. I'll hold the rest into tomorrow. And then I might look for some other spec calls. I mean, Target, after great earnings. And all it took was some cautionary comments from the CEO in regards to the tariffs and outlook. And boom, the thing tumbled. It was looking great after the earnings came out and then just reversed. It's bouncing here. The 122, 123s look interesting on a risk reward basis. Don't be surprised if I had some spec calls in the next 30 minutes, just in case there's some follow through tomorrow. Other names I was looking at, well, at least on the put side, Intuit. I mean, it was gapping higher this morning. There was an analyst just they reiterated their outperform rating, but just lowered their price target by $5. So the stock was higher in the pre-market, and then it just reversed course. And tough because it's not the most liquid name on the option side. So I almost got some puts there, but now it's starting to bounce. Definitely a name I'll continue to watch as well, along with JPM for possible put opportunities if the market doesn't find footing. And then flip side too, Caterpillar. Finally, maybe this is it. You take a look at the the candle. I don't know if that's a hammer. We get a hammer candle here, hammer reversal, but certainly looks like it. I was looking at the 345s earlier. I don't want to get overly aggressive. Who knows? But what's the market look like if all of a sudden Mexico and I mean Canada's already released comments in regard to the tariffs, but all it's going to take is one phone call. I guess Mexico is talking to the U.S. and POTUS on Thursday, and if something gets worked out, you have to think the market's going to rally. So if that's the case, then some of these names have been really beaten up. Caterpillar, URI, I think are going to have much more legs. So, or at least a big bounce. I think that's it, folks. Kind of out of breath. We have about 33 minutes to the close. It's funny how quick sentiment shifts, right? It's like we were kind of selling off, and then everybody's bearish, and everybody's getting their shelter bomb shelter puts, right, for the big bear market that's coming, and then all of a sudden we just bounce. And again, no big news or catalyst for that bounce off the 572 this morning on the SPY. I mean, to me, those probably that's a good sign, right? You kind of want to see like the capitulation, huge volume dip, and then reversal. We didn't get that yet, so maybe we're not out of the woods, but I guess time will tell. All right, folks, that's it. Let's have a great day. I'll be back rock and roll.